So we've kind of breezed by some of these topics, but let's have a conversation on when tipping is appropriate and maybe when it's unnecessary. I know we have some thoughts on that. We were talking about it last time we met, but when is tipping appropriate? When is it not? What are your thoughts?
Drew, your example of your frozen yogurt experience, I think, is a good place to say where tipping becomes a necessity if you're going to be someone of good character.
Oh, she was an amazing character.
Well, I'm talking about you experiencing this.
Well, she was
to
also.
maintain your character. You really, to some extent, need to acknowledge this extraordinary above and beyond effort through some form of generosity. Generosity with time, generosity with resources, generosity with money. So those are just examples. Restaurant experience, sit-down restaurant experience that are average to extraordinary, tip. Sit-down restaurant experiences which are substandard, lacking, where the wait staff is frankly just negligent. No, you have no obligation to tip for bad experience. And I know that there will be people who don't like that. I'm sorry, but your workman is worth their hire, right? The workman is worthy of what they're being paid. So for heaven's sake, if they're not showing value in how they serve, their value will show up in their paycheck. That is communication. To be unclear is to be unkind. If you tip well someone who treats you terribly, they're going to treat more people terribly. They need to find a different job. I'm just going to be honest here. You are under no obligation, in my opinion, to tip at a kiosk. If they're just putting it in front of you, expecting some massive tip, you're welcome to tip if you want to. You're under no obligation to do so. And certainly, I don't like the idea of being forced to tip by a certain percentage. I would put a couple dollars in there, $1, $2, $3. It depends on the size of the order and all of the rest. But you're welcome to do something. But again, don't feel under obligation to do so. And frankly, I have no problem with pushing back against this tipflation nonsense because it's not required. It is actually just padding the bottom line for either businesses or paying people who really, frankly, should be growing their skills and their value in our economy through other means. Minimum wage jobs are minimum wage for a reason. It's not designed to be a living wage. The more we have wage controls and forcing people to pay, your McDonald's server some living wage version of minimum wage, that's a terrible idea because it does not force them to grow in their ability to serve the community, to serve people beyond more than, taking an order. So don't feel like you have to tip people just because they're, in a poor condition, because I want them to be able to grow and find other jobs and other things that are going to be helpful. These kind of jobs are great for kids who are trying to get work experience, who are trying to grow and to learn, who are not responsible for all the bills. They're living in mom and dad's house. That's the way that minimum wage is supposed to work within an economy, to give low-skilled employees the opportunity to gain skills and move up. I'm sorry, making this an economics thing, but it is. The more we push wage controls, the more we guilt people into tipping, we trap them in jobs that don't give them the experience and the value that they can actually provide in other means within the economy, which makes everyone poorer. You, them, and the entire community. So have jobs, tip people. You can tip well. Again, don't feel like you have to tip extraordinarily well for fast food. That's silly. And allow people to get those experiences and grow their ability to serve the broader community, to grow in their value.
You know what? Let me add into that because you mentioned that one part, but when you get a good experience at a place, that's one thing. But many of us are kind of regulars. If we go to a certain restaurant or location, we're there probably a couple times a year, maybe even a couple times a month. I'll put case in point.
Yeah.
Every other Wednesday night, I go drive about 45 minutes out to Quakertown, Pennsylvania. I used to pastor a church out there, and there's 3 guys I hang out with every other Wednesday night. Chris, Adam, and Jeremy. Shout out to you, Chris, because I know you're a listener. So, but with that in mind, we always go out to eat at the same restaurant, or most of the time the same restaurant. Not only do we get exceptional service from the waitress week after week when we're there, but she has now become like part of our conversation, part of our relationship. We've built a good connection where I was just there this past Wednesday, and she came up, she goes, Drew, where have you been? What country, what state, where have you been traveling from? I have not seen you for 6 to 8 weeks. Wow, that said a lot to me. You know what? I make sure that I leave her a nice tip week after week when we're there.
So that's why she missed you.
That's why she missed me, because she was hurting financially. So, but I think it's important that when you regularly visit a place and you wind up getting good service and you like the food, the people, it's the relationship, and you're just saying, hey, thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for noticing. I want to bless you.
Yeah, baristas and waitresses often get like the blunt end of the stick when it comes to conversations on tipping. But I had a really valid experience, really relevant experience recently. I just moved, and I took my daughter out one morning, and we decided we're going to go try a coffee shop that I've never been to. Obviously, my 2-year-old didn't get coffee.
I was just going to ask. Good.
It's a little daddy-daughter date. But, I went to this place. It's just a homegrown coffee shop, and I asked, hey, I've never been here before. I'd love to know what you're known for, and this is kind of what I like. What can you recommend? And I'll tell you what, this high school student is what I'm assuming she was, took the time to explain things to me with a smile and just made the experience really good. And it's a small business. She's probably making maybe at or right above minimum wage. And so I was like, you know what? She made this experience so good. I'm gonna give her a good tip. I could go to another coffee chain, which I will allow to remain unnamed. Their colors are green and black, where they're paying their
rhymes with Tarbucks.
they're tastes like tar sometimes. Anyway, they're paying their baristas sometimes north of $19 an hour.
Yeah,
and you don't get nearly the experience that you'd get that I got at this coffee shop, and so it just makes it harder to tip when like, wow, they're making like over 2 times what this other person was making. Am I really expected to tip the same amount? So part of it is just being literate about what's going on in your area, you know what I mean? And seeing what opportunities lie ahead. Well, that was really cool. I really like that. Drew, I actually had the same experience with unnecessary tipping. Same experience. I went to a froyo place.
Okay.
I got my froyo in the cup. I got all of the toppings on it, and trust me, I loaded this baby up. Because it's good. I'm a chocolate and peanut butter guy. And then I put it on the scale, and I saw the thing, and I paid, and it asked me for a tip. And I was like, I haven't seen an employee here. I haven't seen somebody working here. Who am I tipping? And I was like, how do I leave a tip with 0? I was with my wife, and I was like, how do I leave a 0 tip? She goes, well, no, you have to tip something. I was like, but who are we tipping? Where is this money going to? And of course, my wife being like, probably the more level-headed of the two of us, is like, just leave the tip. And I was like, I don't know. I look back on that, and I'm like, I don't think I should have left a tip there. But especially after having a conversation with you guys, you're like, that was unnecessary.
That's tipflation.
I'm a quick 0 on that one.
But my wife just wants everybody to like be happy. It's great.
I see that in her.
Yeah.
So again, just be careful that you operate. If you're operating out of fear of man, don't do that.
Amen.
So I am you. This is the in this section of the podcast, we're talking about where is it appropriate to or not to tip. I love the idea of generosity, and I actually love the idea of tipping. And there's a gentleman that I heard of recently who loves to go to like out with $20, like a stack of $20 bills in his pocket, and he walks up to people in the bathroom at an airport. Hey, thank you for what you're doing. Let me give you something.
Wow.
And just hands him a $20 bill.
That's impressive.
I see you.
That's impressive.
And I appreciate
especially in airport bathrooms.
Yes.
The workers
I'm in a lot.
Yes.
I'm in a
Okay.
lot.
Yes.
I'm in a
Right?
lot of airport
So,
bathrooms. That's impressive.
There's no obligation to tip those guys.
Wow.
But yet, out of the generosity of his heart, wanting to see and acknowledge people and brighten their day, he has a place in his budget to pull out some money and just hand out some $20 bills to show gratitude towards others.
That's cool.
And that sometimes opens the door for a gospel conversation. So
Amen.
I am not opposed to tipping. Don't hear me say, yeah, don't tip, keep all your money yourself and be a Scrooge. I'm not saying that. I am saying push back against the social expectation that you're going to tip at stupid places where tips are not required. Was I unclear? But feel free to tip when it's not required. Feel free to. Just don't feel like you have to be manipulated.